ask how the Cupidos doing this beautiful, warm, hot Tuesday afternoon.
I'm not sure how I should feel about now being addressed by Grandpa
Oh,
Romeo.
Oh, Rome.
But it is what it is.
you know,
I'm with you.
we'll need to take this
We learn
conversation
new
a little
things
bit
about each
further,
other.
Romeo. Offline, okay? But other than that, I am good. Thank you very much
Yeah.
for asking.
I was so happy when that happened, because you chirped me in the group and you called me uncle.
Uncle.
He calls me uncle on WhatsApp, guys. No, but we're good, man. Nice to see you guys.
Yeah, nice to see you guys as well. On that note, though, like, is it a thing for you guys, aunt and uncle?
No, I don't mind if you call me on my name. But it's funny we were talking about this in the car. It's just obviously if you 10 and I'm the sweet age of 43, like we're not like friends, man. But if you say Tina, I'm not gonna be like, how dare you? That is
Okay.
disrespectful. But I grew up, everyone is aunt,
Yes.
everyone is uncle. I had a colleague at work that is the same age as my dad. And it was very weird for me to call him on his name. But it's because it's at work. But then everyone started calling him uncle eventually because I couldn't. And I called him Uncle Leon.
Yeah.
And that stayed his name.
Similar with me at work. I mean, you've got people that are exactly the same for me.
Yes.
It's just the respect, maintaining that respect. Interesting.
Sure.
Great.
I don't mind. It's just you feel old when they call you uncle.
or grandpa.
Yeah, like it's like you
Romeo must
realize,
stop
look
now.
how old I actually look and do I dress like I'm old and I'm getting old.
So you start to reflect.
Yeah, that's why I
What do
said
they
Romeo.
see?
That's why I told Romeo I'm not old.
Yeah. Oh man, we've got a couple of messages with regards to that conversation, but we're going to get into that in a bit. Now, today we're talking about singleness, the joys, the challenges, the truths, the hard truths that is about singleness, and just getting into it, guys. A lot of people view singleness; it's got a negative connotation, and there are certain, I suppose, narratives to it. Let's unpack the advantages and the benefits of just being single, especially as we wrap up the month of love.
Yes. I think our view of singleness sometimes stems from many times in churches, if you look at the various departments or ministries. So you'll have Sunday school or children's church, you'll have youth,
Yeah.
young adults, married couples, and very rarely do you have churches that has a department geared at single people. A lot of times we think the singleness is always those. So now you finish with school and now you're in your 19, 20, and by 25, 26, by 30 you'll be married. And the world has changed.
Oh,
So a
yeah.
lot of people are much older and they are single, and sometimes they don't know where they fit. So it's almost like we get told, okay, when you're done with school, maybe you go study and then you're gonna get married. So that is the view, that you're gonna get married. So that helps shape how we think about us being single. It's like, is there something wrong with us because I'm not married, and the church isn't maybe necessarily catering for me in that capacity. So maybe there's something that I'm missing, right?
Yeah.
Even culture, if you look at everything nowadays, you just see a lot of couple goals. It's all couple goals,
Yeah.
relationship goals. And you start to think, do I even have value as a single person? Is there something wrong? Did God forget about me? But I know Craig's got a lot more things to say about this topic than me. I don't know why, guys, because he's not single. I'm joking.
No, I think like when I was thinking about it and the topic came up, I was like, okay, cool. And like really yesterday thinking about it, like Jesus was single. And he was obviously that example that he was always about the Father's work, man. And I think there are also benefits to that. So when I looked at some of the benefits, I looked at Paul, 1 Corinthians 7 verse 35, where it talks about being unmarried or single, widowed, that those people don't have like divided interests, man.
Yeah.
So you can really put a lot of your focus into God's work and getting closer to him and growing his kingdom, right? So you can do that. You can have time to read the Bible a bit more, pray a bit more. It's significantly different how you have to adjust to time when you're married versus being single. So
100%.
the other thing is the other point is about being flexible. So
Yeah.
like if Romeo told me now, Craig, let's go and have a coffee after the show. I'd be like, let me ask my wife first.
I'll
Not
confirm.
because
No, but I mean, it's like, well, what do we have on?
Yes,
And
yes.
it just is like that. So if it was me 20 odd years ago, it'd be cool. But right now, sorry, rain check. I've sort of we plan things in advance. It just goes like that, man. So I think that is obviously one of the interesting things around being single.
Yeah.
And that you can actually look at the good in it.
Yeah.
And it's all about how you're using that time that you
Yes.
actually have.
Yeah.
And don't really take it for granted.
Mm.
We always feel like we're missing out on something. man.
Yes.
But if you think about uh, what are we pursuing? So are we pursuing a person or are we pursuing purpose? Now I'm not saying
Yeah.
you can't have purpose when you're married.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But when you're single, your focus is on I need to find someone. I need to find someone. Whereas this is gonna sound like a cliche, but it's the truth. If we seek God first,
Everything
all
else
of
will-
these other things will be added. So if we shift our focus to let me pursue him as in God,
Yeah.
then all of these other things. But at the moment, we're like, oh my word, I'm almost 30. I'm not married yet. So my focus is I need to find someone, I need to find someone. And that becomes the person that you're chasing instead of the purpose that you need to chase.
Yeah. And then trying to keep up with these societal standards,
Yes.
that place these time marks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah.
Absolutely true.
Mm.
It's so weird.
That's
Craig was
yeah.
married when he was 25, and when we think about it now, we go like, "Oh my word,
Yeah.
you were so young.
Mm.
25 is so young." And now you go like 25, Tina's married. I'm not married. Oh, I'm 28, I'm 29, I'm 35. Oh my word, I'm running out of
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, and there's some plan that you probably have as well that you said when you're young. No, when I'm
Yeah,
this
yes.
age, I want to do
My
this, and
30 or my
there's
second
milestones.
child,
It's like, and then you
marriage.
get married, and everyone's like, okay, so when you're gonna have kids, and then you have a kid. When's the next one coming? So it's like, okay, it's like never ending. But that's a society as well, just
Yes.
with a certain label and
Right.
expectation on singleness or marriage.
Literally pregnant with my first child when you're having the next. I'm like, dude, I didn't even pop out. I'm
Jeez.
serious.
Yeah.
There's always this next thing that they think you are supposed to be chasing as if where you at is not fulfillment enough.
And,
Yeah.
and even looking at on the other end of the spectrum, saying, let's say, for example, you were divorced and now you're single, you find yourself single again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So on that note,
Mhm.
this is for you. So if you are single, whether you are maybe a divorcee, you are a widow, this is a conversation that you can grab onto. And so we're joined by the Cupidos talking about singleness, the challenges, the benefits, the advantages, and really just having real and raw conversation. Now, guys, on the flip side, right, there are challenges that come with being single, and I think a lot of the times we we tiptoe around it.
Yeah.
But the reality is that it is there, and I think we have our own experiences. But let's touch on some of those challenges.
Yeah. The first one is we feel like we don't fit in.
Yeah.
So we look around. It's going back to if I'm in church, there's no space for me. So you have youth and you have young adults, right? So but the young adults is like what until maybe 28, 30 years
Yeah.
old, and now you find you're 35 and you're not married. Where do I go? So it goes back to we think singleness is in that younger age group,
Right.
right? So we don't fit in anywhere. Do I go to the ladies? Do I not go to the ladies? Who am I and where do I fit in, right? Sometimes another challenge is this thing of fear. We compare ourselves to our friends, like we said earlier on. And the funny part is, so let's say Natasha was married. So now I go, they actually live in Claremont and I live in Stamfontein. I'm still comparing myself, my marriage to theirs, where they live. I go, their kids go to a better school than me. There's always this comparison as if we are missing out on something.
Yeah.
So the single person goes, oh, all my friends have kids. All my friends at this age are married. My time is running out. So I have this biological clock that they say is ticking.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm if I don't chase it, then I'm going to miss it, right? Then there can be the thing of jealousy. And you don't mean to have it, of course. You just go like, okay, I don't have what they have. They must, they're really lucky that they got married. But marriage has challenges, guys. It's So maybe it looks rosy, but sometimes behind the scenes it's not so rosy. So maybe you're not missing out. Then you've maybe dated lots of people. You were like lots of guys, lots of girls, and it's just like, oh my word, what is happening? Where are the good guys? So you lose hope. You're not going to put yourself out there anymore because I've dated enough and it didn't work out, so it's never going to work out for me. And then the last one I have is that sometimes if you're a single mom, or you were married and you divorced, or now you're a widow, it's a heavy burden to carry sometimes. So you feel like you're carrying the weight of two people on your shoulders. So that can also be challenging. And I know people say, depend on God, and that is very true. You must, but it can still feel in the natural, it can still feel very challenging and very lonely and very hard.
Yeah, no, and I think, like, for me, when I think about singleness, the thing that we normally attach to it is loneliness. You know, that's sort of the thing that people attach to it, or the label. And Natasha actually mentioned solitude in our prep, and you know, the solitude thing, like, stood out for me. I was like, I'm so excited about this. And the reason why, it's a spiritual discipline, man. And I just wanted to highlight, you know, what the difference is. So solitude is actually a being temporarily withdrawn for spiritual purposes. So I'm taking myself aside to a private place for spiritual purpose. And then loneliness is inner emptiness. So it's
quite
that
a contrast.
it's an inner emptiness of me being on my own, and you know, really feeling bad about it. And you know, with that, there's no hope. I'm alone. It's just me. And you know, solitude on the other hand is that inner fulfillment. So when I thought about it as a spiritual discipline and looked at it, you know, Jesus actually calls us from loneliness to solitude. So the world today, though, tells us that, look, it's sort of counter solitude culture that's actually existing. There was a cool quote by T.S. Eliot, and he said, where shall the word be found? Where will the word resound? Not here. There is not enough silence. So what we're saying is that there's so much noise in the world today. The loneliness actually sometimes then can drive us to that noise, because we're saying, hey, what's wrong with me? I'm lonely, so it drives me to the noise, the crowds, the distractions, right? And it can be multiple things, you know. So solitude is just that opposite of that. And it's something that, you know, all of us as Christians can actually practice. So it's not just for the single person, it's not just for the married person, but where that's loneliness is actually associated to the singleness in a worldly sort of sense, you know.
And that's how they painted that. If you're single, you must be lonely. It just it's like a synonym,
right?
And the trick is, or the key is, so when we have the inner solitude, we don't fear being alone and around others or in the noise, you know, as we would have when we were alone. So it's a different thing when I have inner solitude. But now, where does the inner solitude actually come from? It comes from my time spent alone with the Father, trying to relate to Him, right? And the focus is on Him. So it's actually a lot of freedom. And what's cool is, like, Jesus is actually the perfect example of that, you know. So we see that from the start, when He starts His ministry, He goes out into the desert 40 days, for example. John the Baptist dies, he walks aside, he takes time away and goes to a boat. Before choosing the disciples, He goes away on His own. So that's why I got so excited about solitude, because it is really the opposite of loneliness. And a lot of the time the world is really just you know, we attach that label to singleness.
Loving this conversation. I want to add a bit of my experience, and as you're talking, there's so many different elements that come, you know, with this. We've got a message from Christina. She says, I had some healing to do, and also it's so sad that you don't have people walking with you, but quick to ask the unnecessary things, saved or unsaved. I'm so content now. I'm focusing on who God is, and that's something that I want to touch on. With like you said, whether you're coming from a previous relationship, whatever the case is, that time is also necessary to heal. You know, and so in my experience, if you asked me this, 4 years ago, I would say to you, no, I'm lonely. I want someone. There's something wrong with me. You know, I'm a single parent. And so as I'm, you know, getting older and growing spiritually, I'm understanding the beauty, as Craig said, of solitude. You know, the beauty of getting to know yourself as well. You know, finding out, okay, who is Tash? Maybe Tash doesn't like A and B anymore. Maybe she likes C and D. You know, and so there's so much beauty in the solitude. But I want to flip the script. Again, I'm going to personalize it. My worry now is I've been so used to the solitude.
Mm.
Now my concern is this person comes. Now I need to unlearn this time that I love with myself. I need to unlearn that, okay, I've got to be selfless now and make the time for this person.
I don't think you need to unlearn. I think you just adapt.
Yeah.
So maybe your solitude used to be 5 hours a day.
Mm.
Now it maybe becomes 3 hours for the day.
Yeah.
Because when you start to know someone, you want to spend a lot of time with them, or that's what you do all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can flip the script, as in you get completely lost again within that person, and you lose the beauty of the solitude
Yes.
that you've always had. So don't look at it as a loss. Just look at it as, how can I adapt? It's so you're single now, I'm married, right?
Mm.
I now need to figure out, where do I find my time of solitude in the busyness with
Yeah.
2 children and. So you're just gonna do it in a different time.
Mm.
But
Mm.
don't lose it. Don't look at it as now, oh gosh, I'm gonna lose my solitude.
Yeah.
You're just gonna put it at a different time, if that
Mm.
makes sense.
Absolutely. Loving the comments coming through. I don't know if you want to add your bit as well.
Yeah, definitely loving the comments coming through. Keep sending them through on 0617981075. Something I've seen as well. When you know, through different relationships, you get to learn about yourself.
Mm.
Sometimes things that you never even knew about yourself.
Yeah.
Your level of patience gets tested, and so many
Yes.
different things. And you're like, actually, I'm not patient, or actually, I am.
Yeah.
You know, and so on and etc. Or I have this a blind spot that I didn't see, or I
Mm.
did see. And you know, in something that me and my peers, you know, would have conversations of and find out is that if we don't firstly have a relationship with God, we won't be able to have a relationship with people,
Yeah.
because the yardstick that we'll be using is the societal yardstick, which changes every day.
Yeah.
Whereas if we look at it from the word, it's the same. It doesn't change.
Yeah.
So we, by we as the males in my group, have found that we needed to work on ourselves. We needed to have that relationship with God,
Yeah.
have that relationship with ours. And then Tasha, just touching on what you're mentioning, if I have a certain routine or habit, you will automatically fall into that, because
Yes.
you're doing the same.
Yes.
So it's not like you having to change or me having to change. We both align with the same common interests, and it makes it easier for us, you know, to get to know each other
Yeah.
better, because we align with the same things. It's easier. So I'm not totally different from what you are. I don't have to totally change anything, but you kind of slip
adjusting
and works into that. And one thing, you know, Craig, that you mentioned about the loneliness aspect of it, what we found as well is that after a long day, you want someone to physically talk to,
Yeah.
or someone to just to share, yo, man, this and this happened. My day has been this. Besides our relatives, excluding the relatives, right?
Yeah.
Someone else.
The aunties and the
Yeah,
uncles.
leave the aunties and the uncles, you know, but
Yeah.
someone special like that. And most of us males, when we found and when we're speaking about this, we do plan futures in our minds and head. You know, we do want someone, you know, to spend our time with, our helper, to guide us, you know, to walk with us as well, and to share special moments in life that we can't just share on our own, but we need a significant other to share that with.
So much there. I think that comes with, you know, Grandpa Romeo's wisdom. But there was so much that stood out for me. Number one, that a group of guys are not just talking about sportsmen and this car and the cell phone.
Yeah.
Like, you're actually talking about things that matter. And that is very rare. That is, I promise you, very rare. A lot of guys talk about very superficial things.
Yeah.
They don't want to go too deep. So kudos to you and your crew for even addressing those things and wanting to be ready for when you
Yes.
meet your plus one, that in the evenings you can say, look here, oh my gosh, this happened and this happened. So I really want to say big ups to that. That is actually very admirable in this day and age, because guys don't do that.
Yeah, and I think also just on that, like, one of the things is like this desire, and a lot of us have desires, which is fine, and yes, it needs to be within God's will, you know. But at the same time, I can have those desires, but what weird changes is if you make sure that you are content no matter your circumstance. So where you are is fine. You know who you are. You know who God is to you. You are fine. And then if the desires come through, you know, it's, I don't want to say it's a bonus, but I mean, you
It is a
obviously,
bonus.
no, it is a bonus. We'll meet you there. But I mean, it starts with you also being content,
Right.
because once you're not content, then you start looking for the other things. So
chasing the wrong
yeah,
thing.
you're
Always.
sort of chasing the wrong thing. So yeah, I'm just waiting for my invite, Romeo.
And
What
you
does
know,
it
to the
sound?
group,
Oh,
to the mail chat.
I must add you tonight. And then something as well, that came up as we were chatting. I think you mentioned this one, Tina, when we're moving from relationship to relationship. Sometimes there are underlying issues that I and the individual have not dealt with, but I think they'll be masked or solved by having a plus one, not realizing that we're not even chatting about that, but we're covering it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is actually very toxic. The more you just keep moving, because there are people who just move into the next, to the next, to the next,
Yeah.
haven't taken the time to spend time in solitude, to be inner content, thinking that the next person's going to fill that void. But that's such a huge burden on the next person because they can't fill a void. Man can't do that.
No.
Yeah.
So those issues that have to be dealt with. So healing is very important, as our listeners have mentioned that as well.
Yeah.
Would I invite you to comment and send through your comments 0617981075. Going to quickly go and pay some bills and then continue with the conversation. 0617981075. We'd like to hear from you.
Want to transform your home or outdoor area? For innovative products inspired by nature and top quality personalized service, look no further than Revelstone, award-winning manufacturers and developers of cast stone products since 1993. They provide eco-friendly alternatives to natural stone and combine traditional techniques with modern materials to create unique, durable products. To discover more, visit their showroom at Adam House, 3 Orion Road, Lansdowne, while enjoying a cup of Truth coffee, or check out their website at revelstone.co.za. Revelstone, the alternative to real stone.
Hi, Francois. Where are you going?
I'm on my way to City Boards to get my wood for my kitchen and bedroom cupboards. They cut, edge and deliver.
Oh, wow. I must also go to them.
Yes, City Boards was established in 1996 and are board merchants who stock, manufacture and distribute a wide selection of wood panel products in the Western Cape.
Oh, wow.
Yes, you can contact them on 021 376 2981 or go to their website www.cityboards.co.za. City Boards for all your built-in cupboard requirements.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Some music, no music, excuse me. So used to saying some music. We are chatting to the Cupidos joining us in the studio, and we are touching on solitude, singleness, the beauty of singleness, some of the challenges that come with it. And of course, loving the comments that have come through. We have people going, listen, I am single. I was married. I'm now divorced. I've lost my husband and or wife. And so, again, if you would like to add in your comment, do so on 0617981075.
I want to go on to question number 3, which is how can having a relationship with God model the relationship we need to have with our future spouses?
Thank you to everyone for their messages. So this for me was your relationship with God teaches you priority, right? So you're supposed to put him first. Your time, your prayer, whatever is supposed to be him first. So that teaches you that then your spouse should then be first, not before Jesus, of course, but choosing him, putting him first, then goes, okay, I need to put my spouse first above everything else. And that is even above the kids. Because sometimes what happens when you have kids, you lose your relationship with your spouse, and now the kids become the most important thing in the world. And when they're not there, then you look at one another and you're like, who is this bra sitting next to me, right? It also teaches you intimacy, because the more you spend time with God, the more you get to know who he is. So you actually have to have a conversation with him. So the more I get to know Craig, the more I want to get to know Craig. The more time I spend with him, the more time I communicate with him. That is how I also learn intimacy. God also teaches us. He models grace. He models forgiveness. He models love. He models mercy. So there's a lot that you can learn from your relationship with God. in how you need to treat your spouse.
Yeah, no, and from my side, I was thinking about my own experience. Like, so I was notoriously very bad with communication. I suppose. Paul Romeo asked me one day,
Paul Romeo for
some
me.
deep questions, and I think it was around like, what would you have done differently if you were 25 again, married and stuff. And I said, look, there's not much that I regret. It's just that I could have maybe been a better father, a better husband, especially, and like the basis of that was actually a lot of the thing we're going through was like, I got married when I was young. Okay, then I got a car and these things, and the things that you said wasn't important became important. So you'd like to think that you're content, but you're not actually that content. And then that affects everything else in terms of your actual relationship around what is the actual what's really important in the relationship. And for us, what really worked was when I started communicating better. I think because she communicates quite well, but when I communicated better, I think that also helped, because my communication wasn't up to standard. I'm still working on it. Getting there. Don't laugh,
Standard
Romeo.
sounds so bad.
It's work in
No,
progress.
but it is that,
Yes.
man. But I mean, it's when you actually sit down with the person in front of you that you love, and you're actually really listening from their side. And sometimes we don't do that. But I mean, God also teaches us to do that as well.
We got a couple of comments very quickly, and one question in particular before we wrap up. This one says, "Hey Romeo and Tasha, do the Cupidos know of any support groups for divorced Christian men? Is there outreach programs that offer support? I've been looking for a while for an institution where I can enroll to do a course in Christian counseling. Please advise."
I don't know a specific off the bat, but if you're looking at Christian counseling, I know what is the name of
Tanya
that?
Jenica,
Tanya Jenica just started a counseling school now. Actually, very, very. I think registration is now in March.
Okay.
Actually,
and it's accredited.
what is an
We need
gosh,
to get the name.
We'll
That's
get the name.
We'll get the name.
Yes.
And then we'll reach out to you, Mr.
Yep.
Clint. Then one more comment, I think, before we wrap up and say goodbye. We see all your messages coming through. Joan, we see you. We see you, JJ. We see you, Anonymous. We don't have a lot of time just to get into all of them. There was one question from Anonymous saying, "I'm going to be single soon, sadly, after a marriage of almost 30 years. My wife packed up, left me and the kids because marriage didn't work for her anymore. So how does one start over from having a partner for so long to being single again when the mat's been pulled out under you 7 months ago?"
That is very fresh. That is very new. I think that definitely is going to take time, and it's
Yeah.
going to take healing. And I think that is why God has blessed amazing people who are counselors that will be able to walk you through
Yeah.
a journey, because now you've known something for so long and all of a sudden that is just gone. You it's almost like you don't even know who you are anymore, because you've known yourself with this person for 30 odd years and now it's just gone.
Yeah.
And now you're also dealing with, why did they leave? Why would they leave? What did I do? You have so many questions. So for me personally, I think you absolutely need to get healing for that. You need to get maybe some counseling for that, and don't be in a rush to now get someone else. You need to now forge this new, as sad as it is, this new path that you now have found yourself in. And that is a massive grief. Sometimes you think grief is only when someone passes away,
Yeah.
but grief is also when you've lost something that is so dear to you that you don't know how you're supposed to deal with that.
Yeah.
So that is definitely, I think you definitely need to seek counseling for that.
Counseling. Yeah.
Yep, and a question that I would love to find out as well: what has been the formula for keeping your relationship romantic and exciting?
And exciting nogals, I love it. Look, obviously at the start it's easy because it was just the two of us for about 5 or so years.
Yep.
And then once you introduce children in the mix, it becomes crazy. So just as a snapshot into our lives, right? So we have our own business. Craig works full time. Craig studies part time. So he has class Monday nights, Tuesday nights, Thursday nights. Craig is busy with a thesis, so he's got assignments. We go to gym. We have 2 kids. The one does dance and music. The other kid, okay, still young. Doesn't want to do ball skills, but that's not the point.
Pray for him.
Yeah.
2 kids. That is a lot. That isn't even
Yeah.
family time, extended family, all of those things. So when you look at your life, it can go like, oh my word, how do you find one another? So what we have decided that once a week, and it's been like this now for a while, more than a year, once a week, non-negotiable on a Friday, is we just have coffee and we chat. We chat about anything and everything, because in the week there just really isn't time to have deep, meaningful, life-changing, altering conversations. So we schedule the time for a Friday. It must be really something very urgent for us to take that time away. So once a week we connect, communicate. Then we have date nights. We try to do that twice a month because our lives are crazy. And I used to feel like it is Craig's responsibility to take me on a date. So that's a bit childish. So now we split it. So once a month it is his idea, and the next it
I
is
love
my
that.
idea. So that is and he's a very easy guy, like movies. I love movies. So he likes to watch my movies. He will
Does
You
he
will-
like movies?
Yes, but we like very different movies. But whenever we go to the movies, we watch what I watch. So
I'm gonna lose some credibility. Yeah.
and he also likes to dance movies. Just want to put it out there because I love dance. I really
Mhm.
do dance. But yeah, so that's what we do, and it doesn't sound as exciting or, sorry for this, but as sexy as it makes it out to be. Now you have to schedule time. If you don't schedule the time, you will start to miss one another because you're just not putting in the effort
Yeah.
to connect. And trust me, if you don't connect, you will start to go like, oh yeah, who's this guy laying on the couch here? Oh yes, I remember this is Craig. Yeah.
Yeah.
You must.
Yes.
Deep breath.
No. Deep breaths. But yeah, taking all these mental notes. I wish we
Yes.
could continue. There's so many, messages and so many other things that we'd love to talk about. But the news have to play, unfortunately.
Yes.
Guys, where do we find you if we want to reach out to you on a personal capacity? Maybe we want to take the conversation further and we have some questions that we want to ask you directly. Where do we find you?
Awesome. I just want to, before I say that, it's Cupido Consulting everywhere, but Craig has really had something on his heart that he wanted to share, and it's going to take him 30 seconds
Wow.
to share it.
Is it?
And he was like, the Lord gave me this last night.
Oh
So
my word! You doing this?
so I just want him to, because it's 3 nice points, but it's quick. I promise
Yeah, look,
you.
it was just about single problems, and like we always think that we need to get away from being single, man.
Yeah.
And in that, I found like 3 S's. The one was situation. So we want to get away from the state of loneliness, or out of the situations like a bad family home or whatever it is.
So
And we
we
may be
take
going to
anyone.
another relationship with anyone, anywhere. From a soul point of view, anxiety and worry caused by fear of being alone, which affects your mind, your will, your emotions negatively. Which makes up your soul component, and then from yourself. So it's my need, it's the thing that you desire, but you can have desired, like I said, but it's also about being content.
Yeah.
Just really being content, and start there. And those are like the 3 S's. I don't want to make it like it's a sermon with S's.
The
Three points with
guys.
3 S's. But that was just the thing, man, for people to look out for. So if you find you're running away to situations, is it yourself, or is it your soul that's also being negatively affected?
Just so that you are not alone.
Yeah.
But we are Cupido Consulting, guys, on all social media platforms.
There we go. Please go and have a look at their website. Like I said, if we had enough time, we would continue the conversation, but unfortunately, time is against us. And thank you so much for your messages coming through. Going to pay some bills and then, of course, head on over to the news. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Cupido.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.